it's Tom, and today I'm here with another birthday haul set, and it is 75177 First Order Heavy Scout Walker for 554 pieces, and this is going to cost $50 at full price. Only lately this has been going on sale for quite cheap. Some people have found it for down to $15, so I would suggest checking your local Targets and Walmarts. And if you don't have this set, you could maybe find some really good deals. I found this on Amazon for $31, which was a great deal. Even though it later dropped in price to $21, I was still very happy with the deal that I did end up getting for this set. But without further ado, we're going to have a quick look at the box here. We have beautiful box art around here and the list of the figures down there. Around back, it covers some of the features of the set, which we will be going to in more depth. We're going to cover in more depth later. So, without further ado, let's get on to the minifigures. So, the first minifigure here is the female resistance trooper here. And as you can see, I'm using my new minifig display setup here. And so let's just see how this works. Should work pretty well. I have tested it. But nonetheless, the Resistance Trooper here has the normal Resistance Trooper helmet, but it does not have a chin piece as some of them do. I'm just going to set that aside. The head is a two-sided head, and the other side has a much more angry face. There. See it with the helmet on. From some angles, it looks a little like a confused face, but I think it's more supposed to be a mad face, you know, a battle face. It looks better with the helmet on. Her accessory is a gunmetal gray Star Wars blaster. Her torso is printed pretty neatly. I don't remember if this torso, I think this is the same as some of the other Resistance Troopers there. I know it's different from the one on Defensive Crate, but the legs are the same as that one. So they have the brown printing there. Overall, this minifigure looks really nice, and I love the printing with the pockets and straps there, which this is a great minifigure. I really like the inclusion of this in this set, so let's move on to the next figure, which is the First Order Gunner here. Now, this is a pretty basic figure. He's included in a lot of sets, and he's not exactly rare. This is the first one that I owned, since I bought this set just before I ended up buying the Specialist Battle Pack. If you haven't seen my birthday haul, then you can check that out. I had both of those sets in the haul, and before then I had I didn't have any of those figures, so I have two now. But it is pretty basic. The only pretty unique piece about this figure at all is the helmet, which has the nice molded design here. No dual molding or anything. It's just all black, which totally fits. Some just difference in the mold, and it looks really nice. Love the helmet. Underneath, he has the face of all of the gunners, but at least it's not that dumb, angry clone face over here. Kind of sick of those, so I'm glad we had a bit of a change up here with this face on the gunners, which is always nice. The torso is pretty good looking there. It looks really sleek and nice. I love how they printed this figure up, even if, you know, it's not the rarest figure. Of course, the legs are just plain black, which you guys should know by now. But that should be it for our First Order Gunner. Next is the First Order Flame Trooper, which is the last trooper of this set. The last of the unnamed characters. I did notice right before I started filming this that there's only one named character in this set, who we are about to go over. But sticking with the Flame Trooper here, this is just your basic everyday Flame Trooper. As I mentioned in the Transport Speeder Battle Pack from last week, he has this flame attachment, but back in 2015 they did not have that, and that was added in 2016 with the Resistance X-Wing. that retired a while ago. This is a pretty simple build. It's just attached by a cylinder to the studs, and the studs have holes in the sides and in the tops so that we can attach the flame. Moving that out of the way so we can have a look at the Flame Trooper. Yeah, pretty basic. There's nothing going on. There, just under there, there's the face. Turn around, he has the backpack, which is the biggest part of the figure. There's a lot of pieces inside of this figure. Really nice printing, as always, on the Flame Troopers, and I have really no complaints with this figure at all. Really nice to get a bunch of these, as I'm trying to build an army of First Order troopers of all kinds. This makes my 4th Flame Trooper here, and it's totally awesome, and I think it's a great inclusion in this set. Like I said, I have 0 complaints. There's nothing wrong with including this figure and nothing wrong with the way he looks. So, moving on. The final figure in this set, and like I said, the only one that is an actual named character, is General Hux. This is a great inclusion. I think a lot of people bought this set just for this figure. This is a great figure. I love this. I now, of course, including Stokes Thornroom, which was also in my birthday haul, I now have all four of the leadership of the First Order, as I already had 2 Captain Phasmas, a Kylo Ren, and now I have General Hux as well as Supreme Leader Snoke. So this one is slightly different from the one in the Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle from 2015. He does not have his cap. I'm pretty sure he has the same face, but I'm not sure about the prints on the torso and legs. This is the only way that you can get him that's still in stores right now, and we'll see. He'll probably come in a set that for the 9th Star Wars movie coming out later this year. So basically, the printing is extremely nice. He uses this Obi-Wan Kenobi hair in red, which is the exact color that is on Obi-Wan Kenobi. He has a pretty angry, sneering look on his face, but it is not double-sided, unfortunately, which is, I mean, it's really unfortunate that he does not have a 2-sided face for such a great character, but nonetheless, he includes a small blaster just as the First Order gunner, which I think I forgot to mention, but whatever. And I love the prints that show his overcoat there. It's really nice. You can also see some belt printing in there, as well as just more drapery of the coat coming down his legs. And then you can see the back print right there. Nothing fancy on the back, but this is a great figure. Totally love the inclusion of this figure, and I think overall, it's got a great figure selection in general. Love that they included the Gunner and the Flame Trooper instead of just chucking in a normal Stormtrooper, which are pretty easy to get, frankly, as they come in like 2 at least battle packs. And that is, I think, about it for the figures. Yeah, that's it for the figures. So, let's move on to the build. And here is the build of the set, which is the First Order Heavy Scout Walker. Now, so a lot of people complain about the set that it isn't realistic and it wasn't in the film, but actually it was in the film. It was very brief and it didn't look quite the same. But you gotta remember, this is based off of concept art that came out before the film for LEGO, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to put the sets out in time, which is why a few of these sets don't look quite realistic to the films. So, without further ado and further distraction, we're going to move on and have a look at this set. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start out at the bottom there, which all of these legs, there's 8 legs here. And they're all built almost identically. So it's a very repetitive build that happens in this set. And it was kind of fun, but also kind of boring once I got to like the 4th or 5th leg. Each one of these can move up and down. They all can do that. As you can see, they have some nice detailing on the side paneling in here, but it doesn't quite cover up all of the space in there. But that is because each leg, when you roll it, moves up and down. like so. And I'll demonstrate more of that in a little bit. But for now, they have some really nice detailing just all around this set, really. I mean, most of it is taken up by the legs, but you can see some sloping going on inside there, and just a lot of detail in general going on around the outside of this vehicle. So I think it's a really cool action that it does this. It's super awesome that they got that to work just so. Now, I do have some complaints about it, but I'll go over those at the end. But I'm going to go ahead and take off this, just so you can see a little bit of how it works. So, if you look inside, you have each of these wheels. There are 4 of these wheels, and each one rotates individually. And they all have 2 pieces attached to them via a Technic axle. And as the wheel rotates, the axles move, and each leg moves up and down with the axle turning the pin up to push the leg up. So that works fairly nicely. Like I said, I do have some complaints, and there are some times where that won't work, but I will go over that at the end. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move up the build now to the head, where most of the action is. So starting out in the front of the head piece, as you could call it that, we have 2 little turrets here, one longer and one shorter. Both of those are completely posable, moving in all kinds of directions. But I think, honestly, the best positions to leave them in are either in front, straight out like that, or pointed down a little bit to shoot more at the foot soldiers, such as our resistance soldier over here. Moving around to the sides, which are both identical, we have 2 rotating spring-loaded turrets here, which you can fire those off fairly easily. We all know how that works by now, and it reloads just like this. We'll hear a click, and then it's ready to fire. Like I said, this rotates. It actually rotates 360 degrees, going all the way around. There's some nice detailing going on here with all the plates, and there's this piece here. Coming around to the other side, you can see it is exactly the same with the same rotating turret and all the same details. So something I missed at the front also, though, is the amount of cheese slopes here. There's like 7 of these. There's a couple of ingots going on up there, and you have this little lid which can be moved up and down, but I think it's mostly meant to be left down. It's hard to see, but actually when you take this off, they leave a hole so you can see. I'm going to have to find that later. But you can see inside there, you can see, I don't know if you can tell, there's a little bit of a red glint. Yeah, that's a red brick. Yeah, right there. That's a red brick that you can actually see out and in of the cockpit through. So that's a really nice touch. I love what they did there with that. That looks awesome. And like, it's really simple what they did, but effective. Simple but effective. So anyway, moving around to the back of it, we have a couple of clips here where you can store extra spring-loadeds, like this one, which it does include this, you know, like most sets of spring-loadeds, they do include an extra bullet so that you can fire it off again, even when you lose the other missiles, kind of like I just did. Because that happens a lot, where you're just messing with the set, and then all of a sudden you accidentally activate the spring-loaded and it shoots across the room, never to be found again. I mean, not never, but, you know. So, if we take it off, we can see some of the detailing here. They actually use some of these double guns that are commonly seen amongst Marvel sets and others, but particularly in superhero sets and I guess city sets as well. But they also use these kind of gear things. I don't remember what those are called. But they use those there, and it looks really nice the way they did that. I actually didn't realize that that was how they did that until days before getting the set. I was like, oh, that's cool. But I'm going to go ahead and clip the spring-loaded right back on. And we're going to go around to the top. So up at the top, you can see we have a little hatch here, which we can open easily. And inside is a couple of seats. So also inside we have a little computer screen, and you can kind of see that red brick I was talking about. But it's pretty easy to stuff in a couple of figures in there. It's a tight squeeze for your fingers, but it's possible. So you can throw in the gunner, as well as General Hux in the back. And although there's no real clips to hold these blasters in, you can just kind of throw those in there and call it good. Basically, that's what I do. But you also have some cool design with the ingots there, and I just really like how this works. You also have the clips that hold the door up when it is closed, and that's about it for the hatch. The next step is showing full off how well do the legs work. So I'm going to film it as a normal video first, then I'll probably do it in slow-mo just so you can get a really good view of how it works, and we'll see how well this all turns out. There's the walker. Works pretty good. As you can see, the back legs actually kind of have a different pattern than the other legs. And I'll explain how that happens, and it kind of tends to be a problem later. For now, let's try it in slow-mo. So now, explaining the big problem with how the legs work. So generally, you'd want it to basically work like this, with these two going, and then these two going, and then these two going, which is how it's meant to go. But the problem is sometimes, either when you're rolling it one of the wheels doesn't get enough pressure and just doesn't roll. And so the one wheel is moving and getting these ones, and this one is getting off track. So a lot of the time you'll find that it's walking more like that, which is less of what you want. And I find that kind of a problem. There's a way to fix it, but it doesn't always work. So you can see right now it's set so that we have these two gray pins here and these two black ones. So right now, if I were to move this, it would move like this. And the set tends to just set like that automatically. And I don't like that. I mean, I get that there's not much of a way they could really change that without totally changing the set and probably making it cost a lot more in the process of doing that. And I really like the way this set is priced, and its piece count at 554 pieces for that price is a really sweet deal. But I just feel like sometimes this could have been done a lot better. I just think, in general, this, it needs a little more work. I'd like to see a remake of this set with a better leg motion. Of course, I don't know how LEGO is really going to do a remake, seeing as this set is selling horribly. So I don't see a remake coming for at least another, 10 to 15 years, honestly. It's going to be a long time before we see another version of this set. So if you are out there and haven't bought this set because you're figuring they're going to make a remake in a couple years, no, they're probably not. So you're going to want to get this now while it's cheap before it disappears completely. So basically that's the problem with the legs. And like I mentioned, you can grab the wheels and reset them to a different position. But sometimes even that just doesn't work for various reasons. But whatever. I mean, you can't have everything in any LEGO set, and this one is definitely no exception. So that's it for the review of the build. So that is it, guys. So I promised you guys that I would tell you my opinion on how this set was accepted. So I did mention earlier that this set was technically in the movie, although it didn't look exactly the same, nor did it serve the same purpose, as this was meant to as kind of an attack walker, whereas in the final film, they were just used to pull the giant cannon to the resistance door. So, I kind of understand where you're coming from, guys, but, I mean, not everybody, but, I understand where they're coming from, those who hate this set, but I don't think it deserves the hate that it's received. So, I also think, though, that people were just complaining about the Last Jedi sets in general. They seem to have a problem with every set, as they were just kind of copies of Imperial vehicles, really. But this one was original. This wasn't a copy, this isn't something, I mean, even from that stance, technically, this isn't Lego's fault. It's, Disney and Rian Johnson and all those in charge of the Star Wars film who decided to make the First Order have copies of the vehicles. Not Lego's fault for that. But that also is here. This set, a lot of people said, looks funny. Well, it only looks funny because Disney made it look funny. It's the Star Wars movie made it look funny. It's not Lego's fault. There's no reason to hate this set. I get it if you don't want to buy it, that's totally understandable. There are thousands of sets I don't want to buy. But I don't think they deserve the hate, So I think I don't need to go into much more depth than that. I've already spent over a minute on it. So let's just move on to my final verdict and final opinion on this set. And I'm going to rate it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a great set. It's totally worth $50. It's totally worth anything less than $50. In fact, if they sold this for $60, that would not be a bad price. I mean, 554 pieces, guys. I mean, come on. That's worth at least $55 in price per piece. And we're only getting charged $54. So this is a great set in that aspect. It's also got a great quality build. Although I did mention the mistake in the legs, which is mostly why I took off those points. It's still good, and I love the minifigure selection. I really don't have a problem with it. I mean, the gunner is easy to find. So is the flame trooper. Well, maybe they're not as easy to find as a stormtrooper, which is mostly why I like including them here. I'm glad they didn't just throw in another stormtrooper and cut out one of these. I like that they included these two rather than one of them and a stormtrooper or, say, two stormtroopers like they did in Battle on Takodana. I also love that they threw in one resistance trooper to kind of give a fight. Although it's a very uneven fight, a bit of a fight. And having a cheaper way to get a General Hux figure is also really great. So definitely an 8 out of 10. Maybe even an 8.5 out of 9, or a 9, but I'm just going to go with an 8 out of 10 here. I have very little problem with this set, and it is totally worth the money, especially if you get it on sale, which right now you're likely to do. So if you still don't have this set and you do want it, I would hop on this quickly. Snippety snap snap. But anyway, that's all I've got. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of the set and whether or not you hate it or love it or don't really care and just aren't a fan. But I also really enjoy hearing from you guys in general, so please leave some comments. I love reading them, and I will most likely be responding to them, and if I don't, Alan will. So, thank you guys once again for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Totally subscribe to our awesome channel, and we'll be back in a jiffy.